What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. Of course, we are now less than a week away from the launch of the final shape, but there are no indications that things are slowing down on the news front, and today we've got a handful of updates regarding some of the content that we'll see. That includes a new hidden exotic weapon which hasn't been referenced previously. We'll talk about other updates and cosmetic things that we now know are coming in the final shape as well. Plus we have some additional details on activity content, and Bungie have been doing the rounds with some interviews about the final shape, speaking specifically about the destination, some of the things that we'll find there, as well as the new subclasses, and a handful of other items which we'll round up today. So, as always guys, I hope you enjoy this one. If you do, a rating below really does help us out on the channel, but without further delay, let's get into it. And the first thing to highlight right here, actually something that Destiny Bulletin pointed out, but we are going to see a new exotic sword in the final shape. So while Bungie have previewed some of the exotics, like the heavy trace rifle, Kvostov, or the golden gun sniper, there are others that are entirely hidden. But via a Bungie email, we at least know that there'll be an exotic sword. So we can see here in the listing the Ergo Sum exotic sword, and it's actually in the gear sneak peek section, despite the fact that Bungie haven't shared images or gameplay of it just yet. Some folks have speculated, could this be a raid exotic, and perhaps that's the reason that Bungie haven't showed it off. And I guess it is a minor possibility, but it'd be very unusual for Bungie to make a mention of a raid exotic whatsoever, so probably another drop or exotic quest that we'll see in the final shape. So we now know of 13 or 14 exotics that we'll see as part of the expansion. There's also Red Death, and that will apparently be part of episode 1, so the earliest that we get that will probably be the start of week 2, unless it is a season pass thing. Either way, more stuff to look forward to right there, and something else that Bungie shared, and this is via the Bungie Foundation, but there is a new conditional finality ornament coming in final shape, and it's got the Bungie Love colours and the hearts on it, and according to Destiny Bulletin, it will be available in the Eververse store for 700 silver. So that's another interesting one right there. Next up though, there have been even more reveals for the final shape via early playtests this week, so a bunch of folks actually got to play the expansion early. It's worth mentioning, playtests tend to be reasonably limited, running through a couple of missions, maybe a strike, and getting access to some of the rewards, but it has given us a better look at a bunch of the exotic loot. So in terms of exotic armor, shared here by Fallout Plays, there is the Wishful Ignorance, the Titan Gauntlets, which feature Wish Dragon's talons, and we gain an additional Frenzied Blade charge, and then Frenzied Blade and Fletchered Storm briefly increase their damage with each strike, and pulses from Banner of War return melee energy based on the number of allies healed. So as a strand exotic there, that one actually looks pretty good. But we also have a better idea what the Speaker's Sight does now. This is a new Warlock helmet, and it has the Lost Voice, where healing grenades spawn a restorative turret, and healing allies occasionally spawns orbs of power. So that looks cool as well. And then finally there is the Balance of Power. These are the new Hunter Boots with double down, and your Threaded Spectre has increased duration and durability, and damaging it releases additional threadlings. While near your Threaded Spectre, you do not appear on radar. So those are the 3 exotic armor pieces that we hadn't seen descriptions for yet. Then of course there are the exotic chest pieces for each class that we've already seen. So those are cool to get a look at. Plus we've now had a look at Red Death, which is coming in the episode starting on week 2. And it's now called Red Death Reformed as a solar weapon with redemption, where final blows with the weapon cure you and increase reload speed, and reloading after final blows cures nearby allies. So a whole bunch of exotic gear right there. Give us your thoughts about it down below. Also via the previews though, Destiny Bulletin shared here, from more consoles footage, we actually get a first look at the map for the Pale Heart, and there seems to be this center area which is a little bit larger, which then has 2 or 3 different offshoots around it, which presumably are the more linear areas of the destination that Bungie teased when they spoke about Pale Heart. So cool to get a quick look at it, and yes, we only see 1 landing zone right there. Of course there's the possibility that there will be more at a later date, or during the campaign or something like that. We'll just have to wait and see. Up next though, we get a look at a new weapon via Destiny Bulletin here, and it's a 3-burst strand linear fusion rifle. We can see it's called Scintillation, and it seems to have one of the Vanguard origin traits on it as well, so possibly this will be a Nightfall weapon or something like that. And indeed it is the manyth time that we've seen Bungie use that particular model for a linear fusion rifle. But something else worth mentioning here, an IGN got to speak to Chris Proctor from Bungie, and they asked how does the sheer quantity of new guns compare in the final shape, and Chris Proctor said slightly above average I think, and Witch Queen, if I remember correctly, had 48 weapons or something like that. Lightfall had slightly less, and the final shape has slightly more. before. He also says you probably saw the Season of Dawn weapons popping up there with an origin trait, so confirmation that Season of Dawn weapons are indeed returning. We did spot things like Perfect Paradox previously, so this makes perfect sense, but it also points out that these are 4-month seasons now, so there are more seasonal weapons, and it went from around 6 to 10. So a few decent insights right there into some more of the content that we're going to get in the expansion, and let us know what you're looking forward to down below. Up next though, let's speak a little bit more about some of the Final Shape content. We have seen in some of the recent trailers and bits of gameplay new elements like the strike that will be on the Pale Heart. That certainly looks pretty cool, but Bungie have gone ahead and spoken even more about the destination in the latest issue of PC Gamer magazine. So Katarina from Bungie said that Guardians are going to see what the pure traveler looks like. And one of the big ideas for the Pale Heart is that because you're going inside of a god and no one has ever gone inside this particular god, how are we going to represent that? And there'll be moments where we're going to see the pure traveler and what that looks like, but this is a place that's shaped by players and Guardians' memories, as well as the Vanguard, and we're really excited for players to both feel the familiarity of these places and characters, and to feel that the Witness is present and twisting things in a way that's really interesting. And to finally say, from an environment and storytelling perspective, we wanted to reinforce that you're not supposed to like what the Witness is doing here. This is the very visual, visceral way of displaying that. And they add that the Final Shape campaign was designed to honor the time that players have spent in Destiny up to this point. But they speak a little bit about Prismatic as well. And they talk about Prismatic being a representation of the journey that Guardians have been on. And one of the things that the devs kept falling into in terms of concepts is that they really want this to be like the ultimate expression of a Guardian, of both wielding light and darkness. And how can we make sure that we do that without completely breaking the game? And she says there are a couple of things we really wanted to make sure that we got right. One of them is to make sure that the other subclasses are still viable and have their space in the game. We don't want to invalidate that, and there is a risk. But the other element is to make sure the classes still maintain their own identity, even within Prismatic. And that's the choice that we went through on what things like aspects and fragments as well as abilities will do, but to push the boundaries of what we've done in Destiny. And seeing as we're going in the Traveler, defeating the ultimate boss, it makes sense that new tools will be available to do this. And referencing the exotic class items for each of the classes, they say the combination of 2 exotics was something we're really excited about, and it's also really scary, but Bungie say they're confident they did a good job and players are going to have a blast trying to find whatever concepts they want. Plus, Katarina hinted at the potential for new aspects to be added with the Prismatic subclass over time, saying we're not launching with everything we might ever launch, and as developers it's exciting to have that to play around with in the future. Additionally though, PC Gamer shared some infographics of what the different abilities will be for each class, so we can see the Warlock with the new Song of Flame super, as well as the Nova Bomb, and that's the Cataclysm variant, Storm Trance, Winter's Wrath, and Needle Storm as selectable supers. Warlock Prismatic will also get melee options of Incinerator Snap, Pocket Singularity, Chain Lightning, Penumbral Blast, and Arcane Needle, with Healing Grenade, Vortex, Storm, Cold Snap, and Threadling grenades. Plus there'll be a new aspect called Helion, and that interacts with the new Solar subclass for Warlocks. But other aspects will include Feed the Void, Lightning Surge, Bleak Watcher, and Weaver's Call. Then there is the Transcendent Grenade for Warlocks, Freezing Singularity, a combination of Void and Stasis that will slow and suppress enemies before dealing heavy damage. So those look cool, but then, for the Titans, the supers include Twilight Arsenal, the new Void super, as well as Thunder Crash, Blade Fury, Hammer of Soul, and Glacial Quake, with the Shield Throw, Thunderclap, Frenzied Blade, Hammer Strike, and Shiver Strike melees available, alongside the Suppressor Grenade, Pulse, Shackle, Thermite, and Glacier grenades. Plus there'll be a new aspect called Unbreakable, that's for the new Void super, as well as Knockout, Dringer's Lash, Consecration, and Diamond Lance, and the Electrified Snare Transcendent Grenade, which is a mix of Strand and Arc that detonates in a suspending burst, suspending enemies and chaining Jolt to nearby targets. Finally though, we get the Hunter infographic here, and for supers, there'll be the new Storm's Edge, as well as Golden Gun, and that's the Marksman variant, then Silence and Squall, Silk Strike, and Shadow Shot Deadfall. Then for melees, Combination Blow, Knife Trick, Withering Blade, Threaded Spike, and Snare Bomb, as well as the Arc Bolt Grenade, Swarm, Duskfield, Grapple, and Magnetic Grenade. And then there's a new aspect called Ascension for Storm's Edge, as well as Gunpowder Gamble, Winter's Shroud, Threaded Spectre, and Stylish Executioner, with the Transcendent Grenade being the Hailfire Spike, which attaches to surfaces or targets for stasis and solar damage, slowing, igniting, and creating Scorch Cyclone. lights. So obviously super excited to check out Prismatic. It's also cool that the new light supers are combined into that too, as that's probably going to be the primary way that they're used, at least in the initial sort of launch period for Final Shape. So give us your thoughts about it, but for today guys, that is everything we have to speak about. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. Plus, be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with all of the upcoming content. Otherwise though, I very much appreciate you tuning in today, and I will catch you guys very soon.